Hello again, friends, and thank you for joining me. If indeed you are, if you are watching, please say hi, and if I haven't seen you before, please introduce yourself. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to get notified of any other upcoming streams, please hit the subscribe button. So here you go, you find us, oh, hello, that's interesting. Airplane with no wheels. You find us sat on stand 24 at Gatwick, where we left the jet last night. Today, just you. Well, hello, thanks for joining. And we're off to Dublin. I was going to do an out and back, but I didn't really get planned in time, and it would have been a bit too late. I want to try and squeeze some dinner in at some point. But you can see Gatwick is pretty busy. I didn't want to go jump seat to Dublin and then fly back to Gatwick, because although it would have been busy and fun, I thought, well, it's just the same as the route yesterday. Anyway, I'm sure I probably could have thought of something better, but take her back, and at least the departure will be relatively busy. The routing has changed. It's gone all over the place. From, oh, that's a relatively short leg. I really need to expand, do a few more. And I mean, I tell you what we need to do. We need to go to the States at some point, but I need to get Concorde up and running again as well anyway. So, I think OBS is now playing ball. I haven't changed anything, just game mode seems to be working with playing up yesterday. So, active sky is fine. I'm going to get this routing is probably not far off, is it? Right, so they want us, and I can copy and paste this thankfully, November 1-4, then we want, KENET Upper Lima 9 to Strumble, and I don't know if I can update, but anyway, that's that put in there. So Smart Cars is running, let me just scribble this down. 505. 1605. So not before 25, so we can leave a little bit early. I doubt we'll get ready in time. The flight is running. That's done. Delivery have given us our route. Oh, only see my plane again. So my preview looks alright. Oh yeah, I haven't changed inside yet. That's alright. I'm just talking through the route as I'm just getting everything set up. So, yeah, we're still on the outside view, just to give you an idea of the traffic that's about, to be honest. While I faff about and just update this, because if I don't do this now, I'm going to forget. So, there we go, I've just updated the description. Save. Xpilot's done, they've updated it for me. Ah, right, now the radio panel is not working, so let me just unplug that. That's more than a little bit irritating. But I mean, it's easily fixed, but it's just irritating. I'm sure there's a smarter way of doing it, but it's pretty quick to just jump up and stretch to the back of the desk and unplug it. So, like I say, here we are, stand 24. There's a fair amount of traffic about, a few easies. There was a British Airways A320 that touched down, and I suppose if we just have a look, yeah, there's a fair old bit knocking about, a few with their wheels up. Air Europa, pretty good. So, let's hop in, completely cold and dark, and let's fire up the 737. So, lights on steady. Battery can come on. switch frequency to keep the radio quiet for the moment, and I'll remember to turn it off. Sorry, turn it on for you guys. The emergency exit lights are on, so we can have ground power, which we now have got. Yeah, the RS is aligning. As always, caveated with this is not the full cold and dark setup. 8 minutes to align. Pop the oil damper on so we don't forget it. Check the crossfeed valve, open, bright, dim, close, bright, off. Pumps can stay off while we fuel. So drive disconnect warning, cabin utilize feedbacks on. I thought I was going to... Oh, the battery isn't going to be discharging, was it? I was going to check that. DC amps, we should be drawing some, so standby power. Hey, what can you do? Battery bus. Guess that don't work. BC Aviation, hello again. So, chimes off, belts off, igniters right, diff pressure 0. Pop the hydraulic pumps on. Pop the window heat on. Pop the packs on, we'd have conditioned air in reality, and from the OFP. Let's have a look. A light load today, 107 packs and only 2.5 tons of stuff. So we'll be going up to 380. And Dublin 242, alternate is Manchester, it's 250 as well. So just round that to the nearest. That's the initial upper overhead done. Hydraulic pressure we have, let's check the throttle warning. Set the radios up initially. The ATIS at Gatwick is 136525, still set.
20 degrees. Cab OK. Temperature +24. Dew point +6. QNH1020. Acknowledge the receipt of information, Quebec. And advise aircraft type on first contact. Gatwick information, Quebec. Time 1550. Runway in use 26 left. Transition level, flight level 70. Surface wind 190. 7 knots varying between 150 and 220 degrees. Cab OK. Temperature +24. Dew point +6.
Okay, so we got the ATIS. Call up for clearance in a moment. That's on an odd number, so that's fine. Order brake to RTO test, light goes off. Check that. So let's get on to payload and then fuel before we do anything else. As I said, we are relatively light. And for those of you that haven't seen before, this is, I put this in myself. The only bit that would normally come up there is planned optimum flight level. And then there's a range of payloads, but I just copy and paste that in just so I remember what we've got, because the OFP doesn't tell you, just gives you the weights. Let's put 501 up the front and 2 tons at the back. That gives us 21.5, that'll do. Happy with that. Start the flight leg. And fuel wise, so edit and refile flight plan I've done. I just had a little note on here to remind me to do it, but I've got to put it in manually. Hello Rick, good to see you again. Hopefully you can stay for the whole one this time, and there won't be like a taxi drama. So we've got 2616 on board. I'm going to dispense with the 15 minutes. Dublin was looking a little bit busy. So, do we need that? I mean, we could also be going to call. No, I'll tell you what, we'll leave it and we'll just call it 6 tons. And then it doesn't matter if we get a little bit low. Maybe it's a bit wasteful, whatever. Let's call the truck. Let's have a look and see It's alright, isn't it? Even on the wonky ground. Oh, it's a little bit floaty, but hey. Got the idea. It was pretty busy a minute ago. You just got somebody taking off. Call up delivery in a moment. Got a couple of people here that might push with us. They're certainly getting prepped. Anyway, that's the initial done. There was ATC in Dublin, but I'm not sure if there is any more. So yeah, for coverage, I certainly should have done it the other way around. Cork was online, something's on at Dublin. So certainly approach and tower on, but I don't know what's on there now. And have a look in a little while. Anyway, let's tune up delivery. And before we hassle them, let's make sure we got the right stuff in the jet. There we go. This expires today. We've got ground tuned. So 7 Delta X-ray just seems to be one that isn't used, and we are going to have to put the route in. So I'm going to leave it on that page. I've got the OFP up on page 4. So that routing has changed to what I've put in the description, and I've already written down the ATIS, and we're going to pop the clearance down in this box here. Gatwick delivery, good afternoon, Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray. Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray 737-800 stand 24, information Quebec, QNH 1020, request departure clearance to Dublin.
Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, hello, clear Dublin, NOVMA 1 exit departure, squawk 4465.
Clear to Dublin, NOVMA 1 X-ray departure, squawk 4465, Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray.
Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, correct.
Happy. So, 1020, put this in before we forget. And this is why flying online is fun, because these are the things that you wouldn't necessarily have to do if you were flying by yourself. I don't know about the built-in ATC, but whatever. It's just extra dimensions to make your brain think, which is never a bad thing. Especially seeing as we can't. Well, there seems to have been a lot of GA out in the UK today, which is good for them, but not good for me. Less said about that, the better. So, NOVMA 1 X-ray. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type that route in. Obviously I can't load it, so I've got the modified route written down, and you guys can correct me if I put this in wrong. But of course our first waypoint is going to be NOVMA. And then we are Lima 620 to NIBDA. Then we are November 14. I think to KENET, yes. Then we are Upper Lima 9er to Strumble VOR. And then it is Quebec 63 to VATRY, which I think is the FIR boundary. That wasn't too painful, was it? So I'm going to cross-check. So we don't have the arrival into Dublin, which would give us this extra mercy. It's quite nice. So if we pop in, we thought it's going to be, I think we're going to get VATRY 1 Romeo, which is the point merge. VATRY 1 Romeo.
Don't worry, worry. I'll just
There you go.
send it to you, private taxi.
So that's a big old increase rather than going straight there, which is sort of to be expected. And then we're going to expect ILS 10. So, cool, let's leave it like that. That's 26 left. NOVMA 1 X-ray, just got to change over, yes. And do we need it? Anyway, I'll bring the chart up in a little bit, but this is a departure straight away off towards Midhurst.
Yeah, because the final for the Seaford 1 entry departure, which currently is in that user Gatwick, it's only used between 11 and 6.
Very precise.
PM local time, so you can take the back to extra.
That's the level of detail that these guys go into, which is quite cool.
Thank you very much.
1-4. Sounds like a nice guy, but I think he's going to be a talker. Okay, flight director on, master my side. Ports on. But at least he's had a good hit. He's pretend he's not in. It's very difficult to do at the moment. So we've got the departure queued up, and I'll bring the charts up before we get going. But you can see Midhurst there. And there you go, that route is taking us there. Out we go, up, and then off, out over Wales towards Strumble over here, and then straight in. You can see Dublin over there. We could step through it, but don't need to. Nothing harmed but our pride if we get a little bit lost. So, that's our route done. 0 fuel weight, 54.1 exactly, like that. Trip and taxi, we're probably not going to use all the taxi fuel, but our route might be slightly longer. No, it can't be, can it? Matched almost exactly, so our route should be the same. Trip and taxi, let's just call that 2.7. Our reserves 2.5, round up to 2.6, round up again to 2.7. Cost index of 6, even with the low fuel prices. And we are up to 380. Top of climb wind 20 at 25. And -5 on the ISO. So performance-wise, sorry guys, I haven't got the window up for AppSoft, but that's giving us 59.8. Well, 59.9 for the departure. Our current gross weight, 60.1. Are we going to burn 200? Probably not, so I'm going to change that and call it 60. We are runway 26 left. We have loaded up the weather. 1907 still valid. And that is giving us 26 left. Runway is dry. Flap 5 departure. It's giving us 22k. Plus 3-4. That's not that heavy a D rate, to be honest. That's giving us a takeoff run of 2114 with a stop margin of just over 1,000 meters, 1045. So takeoff run 2114, 34, 135, 140, 32k, 34. Obviously bleeds on. So 22k, 34, flap 5. 5.5 on the trim, and the aeroplane is calculating 132, 133, 140, so 134. 40 matches, so we can pop that on. And the minimum flap is 1300. So I can get rid of the calculator. And I think let's check our fuel. We are 6010. Pumps on, let's get the APU started. Be taxiing and probably departing a little bit early. Let's get the punters sat down.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll see the seatbelts.
Doors closed.
It's also an indication for you to actually make sure that your seatbelt is secure.
Not sure which way we're going to need to push. Going to assume that depends on traffic. Just get the charts up so you guys can have a look at the departure anyway. I'm not going to bring up the taxi charts and everything because it's not particularly difficult to where we're heading off to. NOVMA 1 X-ray, there it is. And so we are probably going to be speaking to London 129425. You can see the departure there. We've got the runway heading 258. To 07, 250 below, yes. And this on this departure, if we get given an unrestricted climb, we have to watch for that because the aeroplane won't accelerate for above 2000. So that speed really only applies for these restrictions and below 10,000 feet, as you can see there. Or unless we're given free speed, in which case we can get rid of those restrictions. So again, 250 below, 3000 above, and you can see it's just above because the stop is 4000, which we've got set all the way to NOVMA. If it's not busy and London are online, you should expect to get given a free climb. So straight ahead, at 244 inbound, 25 out, 258 outbound. So APU's on. Get the bleed on. Get the cabin cooling down. Like I say, in reality, you've got conditioned air. Let's get connected.
Please show me where you want to go. Driving up.
Internet Bird, hello, I haven't seen you before. Thanks for joining. Feel free to introduce yourself to the guys who very diligently sit and just watch me fly. Be gracious of them. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up once we get going. And if you want to get notified of anything, please hit the subscribe. Do you have to? I think you have to hit the bell as well. But welcome. Come along with any questions. I'll do my best to explain them. So I'll do my best to answer and explain. Do my best to explain what I'm doing. I wanted to try and say all at once there. So we are getting hitched up. What I was going to do was look for any departure noise abatement conditions.
Hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Noise abatement, no. So there's nothing about NADAP. Just keep the airplane quiet. So we can therefore take our preferential, we'll go thrust reduction at 800, 1500 acceleration, the wind 1907, not that it matters, we've done the calculation. That might have affected the takeoff speeds, no. Anyway, we've got the acceleration heights in. Looks like we are getting connected. Difficult to tell. Looks like we're actually ready to go. It'll be Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray stand 24, fully ready. position, ground 121.8, thanks for the service, and you have a great night, Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray. So there's ground, tower is 124.225. As we'll get that tuned before we do anything else. Gatwick ground, good evening, Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, stand 24, QNH 1020, request push and start.
Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, good evening, at ground push and start approved, face east.
Push and start approved, face east, Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray. So we are facing north, he wants us to go that way, which is good that I didn't
Ground to cockpit. Please show me where you want to go.
plan it. Guess he's got a little one-way system going on here. That should do us, or maybe not.
So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Anyway, we've been approved, so transponder can go to out off, got the engine displays on, can pop the beacon on, that'll stop vehicles behind us. Pumps all on.
Should we push the brake gears up in a few moments to make sure PC belts are securely fastened. If you're still using your phone, we would appreciate if you slowly make sure to switch that you will be taking a front
Cool,
secure
I
for a
will
short journey.
mention that in a moment. Let me just get cabin secure, get pushing, and yeah, well if you're new to Zibo, yeah, streaming is good. Was that cabin yes it was, it's just difficult to hear with my headset on. So, we are good to push. We have got 6 tons exactly. Brakes off.
Starting pushback and you may start engines.
Yeah, I just started streaming only because I was just... Ooh. I just started streaming just to record my own flights, so why save it on your PC when you can save it to the cloud? Yeah, X-Plane's really good as well. I think X-Plane's got a bit of a better community going on because it was a bit of the poor man's flight sim back in the day when you were spending more on add-ons than you were on the sim. I certainly used to have P3D. I had flight sim all the way from 2000 up until it stopped, and then didn't get back into it until I started flying for real again as a bit of a training aid, and it certainly works to keep your brain engaged in 3 dimensions, hence why I fly online as well. So let's get engine number 1, correction, engine number 2 started, start switch to ground. There we are, facing east. I think Beta 9 should be on Steam. Don't quote me on that. I'm not. I don't have Steam. I use the laminar version, fuel on. So, sorry if it isn't. I think it is. I've got Steam, but I just don't have X-Plane through it.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Okay, brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Yeah, that's it. So as Entity says, because it is a beta, I don't know how you opt into the beta on Steam, but you have to do something else. But it's well worth it if you ever look at the frames that I'm getting now. Anyway, that is engine number 2 steady. Yes, it is a clear day, but you know, getting pretty solid. Low GPU usage, and it takes the load off the CPU as well. Anyway, tug's disconnecting. Start engine at number 1.
Cell is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Oil pressure, 25% fuel on. I'll caveat myself again. Everything is not done properly, but I can at least get you hoofing yourself around the sky fairly competently. Yeah, Zibo does take the hit, but with a sort of mid-range rig or turning some settings down, should be doable. Anyway, that's 2 stable engines. There's the pin. Let's run this through before taxi flow. One thing I would say is OBS seems pretty light. Vulkan will definitely help with the frame rate, definitely. So flap 5.
Good evening, get a ground push, that's not approved, stay to the west. There's no approved, stay to the west, DC 9 rough.
It's interesting, isn't it? I always notice how long it takes to deploy flap on the ground. Never in the air do I notice that it takes that long for flap 1. Right, just bear with me a sec while I turn my monitor brightness up. As the sun is... There we go. It's a bit better for me. So, flight control check. Full forwards, full aft, full left, full right. Full left rudder, full right rudder. Trim set. Equals checked. So, before taxi checklist. So, generators on, no lights, APU is off, start switches, both continuous, anti-ice on, probe heats are on. Air conditioning packs auto, bleeds on, cruise is set, isolation valve auto, flaps 5 required, 5 set, green light. Stab trim 5.5 required, 5.5 set. The start levers are both idle D10. Flight controls checked, recalls checked, we're ready to taxi. Well, thanks Internet Bird, thanks for the subscription, and I hope you can make your Zibo experience more enjoyable than if you've just been fumbling around by yourself. Unless of course you have a type rating, but even then there's still some quirks, like downloading it, which gives us all perpetual headaches. Gatwick Ground Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, request taxi.
Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, taxi via Mike Hold, Mike 3.
Taxi via Mike Hold, Mike 3, Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray. It's interesting, Mike 3 is the Cat 3 hold. Now we're on a bit of a hill, so I'm going to apply some power first, make sure we don't roll back, pop the lights on as well, and we are clear to the left, clear to the right, back to the beginning, brakes off, config check, and it's a pretty short taxi, so we're going all the way down and it's the first right up here on the end. So weather on, towers tuned, auto throttle can come on, we'll do VNav, LNav, give them a test. And we might as well get the cabin secure.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
Good, so we are effectively good to go. Just need to negotiate the X-plane on level terrain. All those FSX amateurs, they're flat taxiways, although it doesn't P3D do sloping ground now.
And Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, contact Gatwick Tower now 124.225, have a good evening, take care, bye-bye.
124225, thanks for the very brief service, have a great night, I'm sure it's going to get busy. Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, bye-bye. Gatwick Tower, good evening. Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, holding Mike 3.
Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, Gatwick Tower, good evening. Via Mike 1, 26 left, you clear takeoff. The surface wind is 160 degrees, 6 knots.
Mike 1, clear takeoff 26 left. Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, thanks. So, lights. Camera, I have done the strobes. Because I have them on a hardware switch. We are cleared to take off. Not going to see any TCAS, so have a look out as best we can. We're going to have plenty of runway to play with. So 16:30 something. Going to be a little bit early. It might be a little bit exaggerated, but it is quite good. You
Approaching.
can see the
2,
airplane
6
accelerating
left.
downhill as well. Call it 1638. We've got 2950 and
On runway
60.
26 left.
So 40%. This is a properly terrible rolling takeoff. 40% stable power. Toga. Time. Oh, big hoof of rudder there. knots. Checked.
V1, rotate.
And off the throttle, rotate about 3 degrees in a second to 10 degrees, and then onto the flight directors. Positive rate, gear up.
400.
No nav. There we go, let's go. Command A. Managed to do it there just as we
1000.
needed to pitch up. Get the retracts up. So I think we should be speaking to London. 29425 next to their tune. That one. Unicom 122.8, thanks for the service, have a great night. Ryan S and Delta X-Ray. Okay, I'm gonna tune. Anyway. Passing flap up, flaps are travelling. Water brake off, flaps up, no lights, gear up and off. Start switches, up cloud, so we can go to off. Release the crew. Cabin's pressurising, 4 pumps. Of course checked. Might as well give ourselves something like that. Out into vent to get rid of all those restrictions. Intercept 244 inbound. Scenery's looking pretty good. Hardly any stutters. Frame's good. So is that Crawley? Don't know, never been. It's only looking nice and smooth since I turned the refresh rate up. So it's a bit of a pickle with that ATC and having no TCAS. Give ourselves 380, go all the way, and clear ourselves to flight level set standard. 381 once, twice, 3 times. So 244 inbound to Midhurst, and then it'll be 258 outbound, which you can see there. Does match up. So I have a feeling we can't delete that from there. Oh yes we can. Let's delete that one as well. There we go. So I suppose it is quicker to do it versus those. To 50% usage. Maybe you just need to turn your settings up. Because I mean, is that 40 to 50 and the frames have dropped? Or, I don't know the architecture behind it all. So I kind of understand it, but as flight level 100 all the lights can come off. Aeroplane is accelerating. 4 pumps, aeroplane's pressurising. It's not bumpy. So we can let the punters out. Around 30, is that? Maybe there is. I haven't looked. I mean, you can see my GPU as being. The thing is, what's the demand that's being put on it? Because if mine is at, let's say mine's at 70%, it's only going to go up if it's being hammered. So certainly on a day like this where, like I said, I don't know. All I know is it's still a hell of a lot better than OpenGL. So, right, let's have a little cheat. I'm going to speak to London. No, so London Central. There's nobody about. So, I think KENET would be a decent shortcut. We could go direct to Strumble. I'm not fussed. Just follow the route, see how it goes. Yeah, but I mean, it does seem a waste. All I can say is, unless maybe you need to turn, if the demand isn't there on the GPU, unless you need to turn the settings up to really hammer it. That's what I can think of. Oh, and I don't know if you guys saw the 10 series processors were released today. When we get those, need a new motherboard. Terrible idea. So they look good, but I don't know if they look good enough compared to Ryzen 4. So what old airfield is that? It's amazing what you can tell from the air. We should have let the punters go. It's a pretty steep turn. They'll be right. Yeah, once Ryzen 4 comes out, if that's either equal to the equal performance to Intel, equivalent processor, equal performance to Intel, or it's slightly better, because I think they're going to have better value, and you're going to have to buy a new motherboard for Intel anyway. That may very well blow them out of the water. That might certainly make the decision. I was very close to getting. Maybe I still should have. Very close to getting Ryzen. I didn't. So, right, brace your ears. So, what's that Odium? That's Odium because I've been there. What's that gliding? Lasher, I should have known that. So big centre of gliding, Lasher. I've not been there, but I have been to Odium. Ortho's looking good. I think that's, did I redo it, or is it still 17? Certainly looks sharper than that. Flyby. South coast of England. You can see the drift. A bit of cloudage. Passing 200, diff pressure is 6.7, cabin's climbing away. So it's going to be quiet. Oh, there's no ATC at Dublin either. That's going to be fun. Sorry for a relatively boring trip in that case if it's going to be quiet. Manchester's open, which is our diversion. Yeah, it's running really well now. Like I say, I had FreeSync on, and the monitor refresh rate was at 30, and that was causing awful tearing. So VSync off, G-Sync compatible with enable, but just because the display settings had it set to, no, I think they had it set to 60 actually, it was causing really bad tearing. So as soon as I bumped that up to 120 on the monitor will do 144. I think that's technically an overclock, so pop that up to 120 and there's no tearing. Don't think there's any stuttering. Maybe that ever so fractional micro stutters that you guys might not even be able to see because I think the stream's only outputting at 30. That down there, you can see a railway line going into it. Is that? Yeah, that's a railway line, not a river. It's amazing what you can see from the air. So anything with a straight is a human feature. But you can certainly do visual nav in this sim, so certainly for you, Internet Bird, if you're... I mean, you didn't say you said you were new to the Zibo. Well, if you're new to Explain 11, Ortho 4 XP is a really good tool worth getting. You can do all the scenery. Not sure how good it is in your part of the world, but I've done most of the UK with it, most of Europe with it. I've got some for the States as well, so I've done my own for Europe. But you need a fair amount of hard drive space. Europe takes up about 4 terabytes, but it is free. Well, if I'd known it was going to be this quiet, I'd have planned 2 sectors and I could have had dinner during the cruise. Never mind. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. My trip planning has not been going spectacularly well. But it is a bank holiday this weekend, so I've got Monday and Tuesday off. So 4 days of simming on the cards. So we could... Okay, cool. As long as you've got that, let us know what you use if you've got some experience with Middle East. I've done, like I say, most of Europe, and I think I've done Israel down to a bit of Egypt and a bit further out, and I haven't really checked it out because I don't like doing the long ones. Yeah, storage is cheap, so to be honest, I bought an extra hard drive, which I don't think I technically needed, but it's just good to have the Ortho on it. And like I've said, and like I've got in the description, it runs over the network, so it doesn't impact my main PC with noise or anything like that. And from what I've read, it can be better not having the scenery smashed into Explain on an SSD because the CPU doesn't like it, or you need quite a lot of power to process all that data arriving at once. Whereas sending it over the network at 100, I think mine runs at about 110, 112 megabytes a second, means that, you know, the tiles will take a little while to come across. Not that you notice it because it loads it in the distance. So in the UK it should be zoom level 17 everywhere. For Europe, so UK and Ireland is zoom level 17 everywhere, though I have been experimenting as we go over Bristol with zoom level 18 and 19, so I think I did one tile at 18 with 19 around the airports. Europe I do at zoom level 16 with zoom level 17, 13 kilometers around ICAO airports, and I think so far that gives me really good compromise between space, certainly noticing it in the cruise. Now, is that the bug that's our contrail? I think it is, isn't it? Rather than someone else. It gives a really good compromise between decent frames. I mean, you could go lower in the cruise depending on where you want to go, and something that's decent at the airport. So even zoom level 19 is no good on the ground at the airport. So I'm not convinced it's worth wasting that space. I've only used Bing, I haven't used anything else. So these are all Bing tiles. And okay, you've got the lines and they can do with some colour matching and that sort of thing. And Keyville, I think that is. Yeah, that is. So whenever I fly in reality, that's usually I usually use one of these as a turning point north of Keyville if I'm going down the south coast out that way. So it's amazing what you can see. Salisbury Plain is out here. Stonehenge is in there somewhere. Boscombe Down is over there somewhere. Might be Boscombe there. That looks like Boscombe. So that means Stonehenge is around here somewhere. But it's really, really good for visual nav. Just practicing, to be honest. Like I say, so I think I've upgraded this. That's Cologne. So along this line, maybe not. Does that look sharper? Certainly when I've flown over it quite low, it's very sharp. Does it look sharper from here? I don't know if you can tell, to be honest. I certainly think it looks good. That does look a bit sharper if you ask me. That there compared to, I should probably be paying attention to our flight. Look at the buildings here. Sometimes it can be really difficult to spot the join, but you can do it after a while, so it might be that line along there. Yeah, that looks sharper, doesn't it? So you see that line where you can see the colour match. I think this has gone from 17 to 18. And even zoomed out, the buildings look a bit sharper. Anyway. Maybe it is. Though I'd expect CPU to be going through the roof for objects, clouds. As long as it hovers around 20 something, I'm happy. Bristol's down here. So maybe those tiles are killing the frames a little bit. Maybe not. Yeah, it's not perfect, but hey, aside from buying a hard drive, it's all free. And the sort of stuff I like. Anyway, Mr. 300 check, looking out the window. Last 10 check, cruise is set, diff pressure's creeping up. And interesting, the cabin altitude is decreasing. Wonder why I didn't plan that, we haven't changed it.
1,000 to go.
So that is interesting. So of course the pressurization controller will let the airplane pressurize up to here somewhere, and then the cabin will climb to whatever altitude that corresponds with that diff pressure. I'm just surprised that it's decreasing. Keep an eye on that. Anyway, we've got the arrival plumbed in, so apart from the December forecasts, a lot to do. The arrival QH1016, there you go, look, technically set before top of climb, a bit late. Got South Wales out here to the left, Somerset, Devon and Cornwall out this way. Seven Estuary along here. Bristol itself. Might be able to see Filton. There's Filton, so it's still a runway here. Looks well and truly wavy. I think Concorde took its first flight from Filton, but that is now an industrial estate and is closed, which is incredibly sad. So somewhere else you can't fly to, which is a real shame because I mean it's not as if it's adjacent to Bristol, but it's not like the departure paths are massively, I don't want to say massively obstructed by housing everywhere. Real shame. And Bristol Airport's a pain to get to anyway, so. Anyway, you can see the valleys of Wales, South Wales down here with the terrain. So as the frames hover about 30, I'm happy. So how are we doing flight progress wise? Maybe we should have gone to Kerry or to Shannon. They've got service. Dublin's quiet. It's just lonely old us. There's hardly anyone. Strangely quiet. Well, that's not for us. Should have changed over. The east coast of the States is looking pretty busy. I'll have to see if there was an event. Looks like it's busy all the way from Gander all the way Halifax, Boston, New York, Cleveland, Atlanta. Busy. Although client-wise, only 1,000 aircraft online, which is relatively low, although I suppose people have been going back to work recently, haven't they? So anyway, sorry, that was me heads in with the iPad. I should have been giving you guys a view at least out the window, something a bit more interesting. Terrain certainly stands out. I suppose this could be being made blurry just because of the way Vulkan is doing the textures. It is what it is. And anyway, you've got Cardiff and St Athan out to the left, so that should be everywhere's Zoom level 17. So there you go. You can see Cardiff here, St Athan over here, very close to each other. Done a couple of circuits. Done a touch and go at Cardiff before. Anyway, there is Strumble up ahead of us, so let's get the descent forecasts in. Put in what we've been given. I'll work out the transition level in a moment. 96 subs, good, that's up. See if we can get a few more followers, get some more questions in. As long as it helps, I'm happy. Good to see you again, Jens. So 1 in 5-3 191 5-1 and 198. There you go. I mean, that you saw that top descent move forward because we are now yeah, because actually we're getting that wind is backing and giving us a tailwind as we go in, so that certainly makes sense. Good to see that that works. So progress wise, we think we're going to burn 0.8. I'm not convinced that we are. So if we plan for 58 tons, it's going to be slightly safer. So we're heading towards Strumble, so is a Shamrock. London, but no London West. Oh, I thought Dublin had lit up, but it was Casement. So we should see some traffic up ahead. We're not going to see on TCAS, but we're about equidistant. So why don't we say, like I said, 58 for the landing. Go landing 0. The ATIS. Though I suppose this is probably not a bad way. When there is no ATC, it's a bit more up to you. And it has a bit more of an application when you're flying offline, especially if you use real weather. I don't really see the point in not using real weather unless you really want to try and do something. You know, if you want to practice Cat 3 properly when the weather is like this. And so 16, 13. so it's half an hour old. 130 at 8. It's a variable between 160 degrees, greater than 10k, a few clouds at 3,000 feet, scattered 19,000 feet, broken at 25, temperature 20.10, H1015, no significant change, so that's still going to give us runway 10. Just me saying that, so it's done now. Descent forecast, so 1015. The transition level, we need to calculate it. So the altitude, transition altitude is 5,000 feet, QNH 1015. It's going to be 6,000 feet. Happy. So I just have a little table to look that up. You can. That is one from the CAA. Google it. I'm sure it would come up. So we think 58. To err on the side of caution, because we are. If I bring the chart up. Expecting VATRY 1 Romeo, and the reason I have picked that one is because it's a point merge, so we will be coming in via VATRY way in, and from any of these points you can go direct to Oslex and then make an approach, so that's why these are all at it's basically a DME arc, but what you can do is you, as a controller, I know it's western, not casement, it's got some traffic, got some controls. As a controller you can vector anyone along off at this point to get your spacing, and that will take them in, and we'll be able to carry out a successful approach. So what we will do is, if there's no traffic, we'll go to Burmo and then straight to Oslex. I'll just get a straight in approach. There's no point cutting it any shorter than that, because then we'll be high. I suppose could get given direct to cut the corner there. I think we've been given that before, possibly. You could get given direct Oslex as long as you can make that at or above 5,000. And then runway 10 is here. The whole of RISAB. Don't think we got that on the arrival. Did not. Could put it in if we needed to. So step through the legs. VATRY, Rubar, Detax, Burmo 230-70. Yes, all the way down for those. Oslex. The aeroplane's starting to slow down at that point. ISAP 3000. Which is here. Oh, it is at 3,000. KENET at 3,000, and then down the ILS. 10 can go in as the fix. It's VMC, so 4 miles, 10 miles, just in case we decide to go direct. Put 30 in. And there's the aeroplane wanting us to descend, so descent planning as cleared. So let's, as there's no one online, give ourselves flight level 100. And let's do the performance for landing, so 130. 8. Temperature 20. Definitely summer in Ireland. 58.0. Let's try flap 30, see what we get. 015. 7 knot headwind, but still only 5 knots. So 1, we won't make it. So we'll take auto brake 2 and come off at the end if we need to. Doesn't seem to be much point in going for auto brake 3 and hammering the brakes. Let's get my hardware throttle all the way back. We are descending. But certainly if you can make it, there's no point going for flat 40 either. That's probably only just going to bring one back in, but you're going to burn 50 kilos of fuel additional on the approach. So let's get set up for the approach. Let's bring the approach chart up. So see, this is useful for MSAs. So 1149. And we can have standby. Collinstown on both. So we need Dublin for the MSAs. Dublin for the missed approach, where we will be 278 inbound, 098 for the arrival, which we can 098 108.9 tuned 30 140 145 matches. So there we are. Happy. That's our approach. And why don't we see what VNAV does? We're down to 70. And like I say, it shouldn't matter if we go direct Burmo to Oslex. We'll do that when we get a bit closer. Have a look at the radar. Assuming there's no ATC online. Excuse me. And then Oslex, direct to RISAP, whichever you want to call it. KENET, intercept, descend. Missed approach is straight ahead. Axev 3000, left to join Dublin 098, inbound, which is 278. Climb to 5000. Our minimums 442. So an ILS, the system minima is 200 for a Cat 1. Can be higher if there are obstacles. But altimeter will give you the altitude, which is why we use that. We don't use the radio altimeter because for a Cat 1 ILS, the surface before the runway is not surveyed and not guaranteed to be flat, so you could get spurious warnings. For instance, you could, somewhere like Jersey, where it's just the sea out here, you could indicate far too high, so it's done on Barrow. That is just a reference, or if you are using the QFE. Anyway, passing 300, set the bank angle, cabin is depressurizing. Let's check 4 pumps, nothing in the centre, and we're inbound to Dublin. So yeah, cool, Shannon. No one to talk to. No, not Cork. ICK. Yeah, Cork. We've been to Cork a couple of times from Gatwick. There's not many Ryanair routes from Gatwick. I think it's only somewhere like either Malaga. I think there's one route to Spain, and then 3 to Ireland, Dublin, Cork, and Shannon. So, sorry guys, I picked the wrong one. Look and see if there's anyone out to Dublin. Like one aeroplane on the ground. Doesn't look like there's anyone floating around the local area. London's nice and busy, so maybe we should have come back this way. Never mind, I think it's maybe a good example of getting the information gathering and then planning your arrival into somewhere either offline or non-towered, which does occasionally happen. The descent, if you've got anything you want, anyone wants explaining, feel free to ask. I can try and do my best. Try and go through the approach as best I can. Might as well do a little flyby, brace your ears. The drift is pretty accurate, I like that. Wales behind us. So you see it's on nav, there's nothing to give us anything inbound. The only nav aid references you've got for these points, I suppose Collinstown, you can see there 138.25 DME, but then you've got nothing to fly, so you can confirm where you are by using that. Over Babel, what's that? There, oh interesting. Actually noticed that before. But again, I imagine they'd have to get pretty busy to be worrying about that. It's going to be interesting when Dublin open up their second runway. I assume these procedures will still be good for that. They clearly need the capacity that a second runway is going to bring them. What was that entity? What was the waffle? Was that... I missed a question there, Internet Bird. What do I use for VATSIM maps? So I could use anything in the browser because I've got a second monitor, but on my iPad I use VATScope because it's handy to have. But yeah, I think sometimes I'll look on VATtastic or just the VATSIM map off of VATSIM. Visible moisture, put the anti-ice on for the engines. And I'm going to add a squeeze of throttle just because the aeroplane is slowing down. Oh, did I notice that? Probably. No idea. Oh no, I tell you what, I hadn't noticed holding over Babon, so these point merges, that was just something I hadn't noticed before. that there's a hold just on the intermediate entry into this procedure. There's no drama. See, I mean, I just talk such rubbish I can't even remember what I've said. Anyway, interesting, we're getting a little bit slow. What's the wind doing? Is it forecast? Let me have a look at our descent wind forecast. So we've just passed 200, 191.51. Yeah, you know, well, that is a little bit out. At 150 it should be 191.47. So, you know what, we've given the aeroplane the information, and I'd expect it to be a little bit slow maintaining that profile, to be honest. So let's have a look. 191.47 is what we want to see at. Flight level 150, sit brief is usually pretty good. And active sky is very good, you know. Like I say, performance clouds, they're a bit softer. Alright, they don't look perfect, but that's an X-plane issue rather than active sky injecting the weather. I think active sky does a really good job. So coming up to the 30-mile fixed ring, if we were going straight in, we would expect to be a rough rule of thumb 10,000 feet at this point. Then there is the 10-mile ring, and on approach that is where we want to be. That's where we want to be. Flap 1 no later than that 10-mile ring to start getting the aeroplane stable. And then our gear down configure point is at 4 miles in VMC, 5 miles in IMC for Ryanair, which I just use for everything else. It works. They like to be fuel efficient, so I think in fairness, they know what they're doing. And flap 5 is, you can go down the glide slope with flap 1, but it's a little bit tricky. Sometimes you can pull it off, but not always. And so flap 5 should work for descent. So try and get into the habit of 10-mile ring, flap 1, match speed, and once you're on the glide slope, flap 5, match speed as well. I mean, unless you're really far out, but like I say, it is then quite difficult to get rid of the speed, get rid of the excess energy. Speed brake doesn't always help. The optimum speed brake setting is flap 5, 220 knots, that'll get you down. Or if you're quite high up, you can always go level change and then trade height for speed, try and lose it that way. 73 is a slippery girl. Or actually no, yeah, the 737 is a slippery senorita, husband bar in Malaysia. So still nothing on Xpilot, and just to give you an idea on, and I think you guys have seen before, I've got OBS Studio taking up the top half of one half of my second monitor. Xpilot lives below that, and then on the left I just have the chat. I can't quite see everything. I can either see how many people are viewing, or I can see the little preview. Oh, I didn't even update the title. That's really rubbish. We're paying attention today, but hey, I think we've had a better flight than the drama from yesterday. So, yeah, you know, I think there is. I'm doing Manchester. Doing one of the ones that's close. That's going to be chaos. I'm not sure I'm even going to try. I'm sure I'm even going to bother. It's going to be mad. Dublin traffic. Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray inbound runway 10. Estimated time of arrival 17400. So 18 minutes. Not going to give too much detail because there doesn't appear to be anyone around. But if anyone is listening, there we go. India Delta Echo, let's have a look with the chart. Yes, 1089, yes, 098, yes. So, 1089, tuned, 098, yes. Glide slope, 3000, we need to be at KENET. Decision altitude's 442. So we are approaching
1,000 to go.
100, we can turn the anti-ice off. And we can continue down to flight level 70. Phone's on silent, sterile cockpit time. There's the aeroplane meeting the restriction. The lights on. Cabin's fine, the packs are sat down. So recalls checked. Welcome to a very sunny island. Emerald Isle. Interesting, we have lost path information. They should still be there. But what do I know? Anyway, let's go direct Oslex. So, Vermo, Oslex gives us a straight line downwind. Here we go. So interesting that we get top of descent flight level 70 there. So what I might do is peg 5,000 and then use vertical speed to get that there so that we can start bringing the speed back as well, because we are downwind at 240 knots. It's certainly quick.
1,000 to go.
So 5,000, 015. Just going to cheat and get the weather, and charts have disappeared. That's less than ideal. Still 1015. .230, and you can see is the airplane going to pitch to follow it. Path quite aggressive enough. Get a little bit more stuttery now. Frames are still pretty good. Those looking alright. So Western, I suppose that is somewhere we could go in reality. Western Tower. Golf course. Really golfy to me. So I think we might end up a little bit quick. But let's just leave VNav to its own devices, see how it gets on, see what it does. I just want to see what it does without any intervention. I think it might end up with a pretty dirty dive at this point, because it's going to aim for 3000 at RISAP, and I'm convinced I think that's going to need to be a 3000 above. So decel a little early, maybe not. I'm not going to intervene. I would have normally because we're getting a little bit quick, but let's see what it gives us.
1,000 to go.
Could add some extra drag with the retracts. So as we go over, is this going to command a very, very dirty dive? So you see, I think we could have gone from 7 all the way down. I think it left it a little bit late. There's 5.
1,000 to go.
Continue down to 3. So it's met that restriction. There's no way we're decelerating at this point. So to give you a bit of a handful. And it's now diving for that profile. Now it wasn't a spectacularly sharp dive, but it is a dive nevertheless. So the only reason I've intervened there is to stop us busting the speed, just to show that it's turning into a bit of an impossibility to be here at 3000. But 3000 at KENET is looking promising.
1,000 to go.
So let's arm the localizer, see if we can rescue something of an approach from this. Best thing to do is to peg 3000 on there, speed back. Localizer capture, bit of a mess. Haven't got the speed brake out. And you can see that, put all of that together, we're not in a very good position. Speed isn't coming back anywhere near quick enough, despite that platform. Arm the approach. As you can see, we've missed our 10-mile flap 1. Let's just see how quickly we can fly down the approach. This is going to end in a miss because we're going to be unstable. But
2,500.
just thought it was worth seeing. And you see a good approach and landing is going to come from a good start of the approach, and we were struggling to make it sense of anything at even at 7,000 feet. We needed to be descending early there, so you can see that. Let's get some speed brake out and see what happens. But 6 miles, even with speed brake, try to maintain this. Just call this a low approach to go around. But you can see without doing something like going to flap 5 now. Why don't we try that? Peg level change because we're on the approach. Flap 5, and the speed is starting to come back. So 220 knots. No.
1,000.
There you go, 1,000. Unstable. We're not going to be stable by 500. You can see how you're really going to struggle to. Hang on, what just happened there? Oh, I know.
Approaching 10. Flaps, flaps.
Too low. Terrain.
Well, that was
Too low.
a fun exercise in futility.
Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
Unstable, unstable.
400.
is about.
Thousand to go.
And we might as well go up to 5 at a relatively steady rate. Recycle the flight directors. So, actually we can go on nav. Go vertical speed, we don't need to do anything too spectacular. Okay. Wanted to see if it would do it, and it did. Didn't think it would engage at that point.
1,000 to go.
So settings, realism. Anyway, we'll go back round. Get ourselves back round to RISAP GANET. I know the missed approach was max 3,000 and then climb, but there's nobody about, so. Set ourselves up again. So dub and then back round RISAP GANET. Might as well do. Oh, interesting. So that's brought the whole route back up again.
Altimeter setting.
Anyway, 57.7, we can just update our approach speed. Fly direct there, so what can we do? 008 from RISAP, I would guess. Yep, that's given us a point to beat. Let's try that. So all I did there was create a custom waypoint, RISAP 90 degrees, because the inbound was 098, knock off 90 degrees, 008, 5 miles. And that has given us a straight downwind position from Dublin, rather than going direct and then never making that turn. That looks quite good. So it could be as quick and easy as that custom waypoints. Just to give you an idea there, that all I've done is created a point which I thought would be roughly here, 5 miles or so. Turned out, yeah, pretty much was. Well done me. Is the airplane porpoising because of VNAV? I think it's because of the wind floating about and being variable and therefore turbulent.
Dublin traffic advice, headed 27 back.
16 is not a good one. Six is a very rarely used one, so there we go. If anyone thinks this is porpoising, I don't think it is. I think it's an active sky doing its thing. So set 3000. And that's going to be, what are we on, 20, so that's 10, that's 5, 10. It's going to be at least 15 miles. Ever so slight right turn there, so maybe 4.5 miles, but it's worked out. And at what sort of point are we going to get a descent? We can try about 500 feet a minute. And we can try bringing the speed back to the flap up speed. See if we can't be a little bit more efficient. Yeah, maybe 4 miles would have done, but you know what, I mean, that was alright. I mean, we could have just gone straight from KENET, to be fair. We could have put a point here. And of course, if ATC was online, we'd be getting vectors. What's that, race course? Oh, now I've been logged out of Navigraph, great. Great. Just not what you need when you're downwind. So definitely not icing conditions. Well, at least we're set up. Weird. We started the app and went back to where we were. So we're coming back on profile. And custom waypoints are good because they will give you a profile if you give all the information. Go, glide slope is going up. So we'll be turning within that. We've slowed to the up speed. Dublin traffic runner 7 Delta X-ray turning 5 miles north of Ricep for ILS runway 10.
1,000 to go.
Looks like it might work out okay. So let's go flap 1 at this point, match speed. It's looking a lot more stable.
Dublin traffic advice, headed 27.
This will be his first time to Dublin. So we can bring that back to about 300 feet a minute. Speed's nailed. Flap 1. And you can see I've increased the shadow mapping to 8K. That has helped smooth those out a bit. Doesn't appear to have affected the frames too much, but it does look a bit better. It's still not perfect though. I think just because it doesn't have any anti-aliasing on there. Anyway, common auto throttle, catch up. Localizer established. And we can arm approach.
1,000 to go.
Dublin traffic, Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, established ILS 10, 10 miles. Yeah, a little bit of bouncing around as we intercept flap 5. Match speed, and most are 160 till 4 anyway. Light slope capture, 5,000 set. I know it should technically be 3. But you have to make compromises when you're single crewed. We will announce about 3 miles or 1,000 feet and then clear ourselves to land if there's nobody there. Again, it was 8.5 at 3, and that, so we're on the right glide slope. I think that's a simple check, but false glide slopes have been captured before. So next event we're waiting for 4 miles, gear down and configure. Don't want to be hoofing it down the glide slope with the gear out. Keeps it relatively low drag, low noise approach. So 5 miles we'd configure at this point in IMC, but here we are. Completely visual. Pappies are nice and bright. So approaching 4 miles. Gear down. Flap 15, match speed. Landing checklist of flaps, speed brake armed, order brake 2. Gear down, 3 green start switches, continuous cabin secure, recoils checked. Look on the landing flap. Traffic Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, landing ILS 103 miles.
1,000.
So let's go flap 30. .144. A little bit of a balloon. We have announced our intention to land, so all that cleared.
Approaching 10.
The pilot seems pretty stable. Let's see if we're in trip.
500.
Not quite.
$400. 300.
Interesting.
Approaching minimums.
Are we going to get stable? Not 1,000 feet a minute, we're not.
200. Minimums.
So continue. Little slow,
100.
little high. I'm going to blame it on active
50.
sky.
40. 30.
Long landing.
20.
Long landing. 6,000 feet remaining.
Oh, come on down. There we go.
5,000 remaining.
So let's go manual braking.
3,000 remaining.
Majority of that energy out. Trying to keep the airplane straight is a challenge in itself. Doesn't look that bad.
2,000 remaining.
80 knots.
But not one of my greatest landings. A little bit quick to vacate there, so
1,000
off the brakes.
remaining.
Continue down to the end.
500 remaining. Approaching 100 remaining.
Dublin traffic runway 7 Delta X-ray runway vacated. So that was less than ideal. Which way do we go round the Foxes? I forget. Anyway, let's taxi up this way. Get the airplane cleaned up. So I think I've just about cleaned up there. Zibo will say the landing was really excellent. That was a terrible landing. So touchdown rates, Ryanair says -105, a little bit off. And Project Fly says -117. This is why landing rates are all a bit, are they accurate? Park up with our buddy over there. Speed down on the apron. Still no ATC, how sad. Anyway, we'll pick, why don't we just go right next door to the company up ahead. Started up the APU. So was this 125? Yes. We've been given 125 before. It's an interesting livery. A little bit quick. Oh great, this guy doesn't want to do his job. They're on a go slow. I thought this was tow gate based. Others. So on stand at 17:51. Was that on schedule or not? On block 17:55 here, so even with the go round, we were early. So 2 blues. Red. Instead. For 20%. It's off. And that, gents, any potential ladies, is to Dublin. That wasn't a bad park, to be honest, with no help. Not quite there, maybe we've gone a bit further forward. Oh yeah, I suppose. Maybe I will... Yeah, okay. I think I can practice that. Anyway, this is us. We had 1:11 flight time. 22 blocks. Got 1610, 1630. What times go around? And we used 1.39 tons in each. And we can terminate. So one pirate filed. Okay, complete. And that's us. So VNAV still needs a little bit of intervention, although potentially, maybe next time we come into Dublin we'll try that with above 3000 at RISAP or max over the other ones, because it seems to work out a bit better. Apart from that, VNAV performed pretty well. So, unless you guys have got any questions, that is me done for the night. I'm going to go back, I need to have some food. But as always, thanks for joining, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did subscribe, thanks very much. Hope to see you again soon. And to the rest of you, probably tomorrow, I'll look for some events. Maybe we'll do some USA stuff. I really want to get back into Concorde as well. So maybe I'll see if I can figure out how I can fit that into an evening. But until then, stay safe, take care. Thanks for joining. Like I always say, I really do appreciate it. And look forward to seeing you all again soon. Come with some questions. But until next time, have a good night and bye bye for now.